Hello to you. It's the Libra Brew. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. I did for the most part. It was a good weekend. I hung out with my kids. All of us were creating content. My boys, they are creating content for their YouTube channel, and I was creating content for mine, and we reviewed each other's videos and had conversations, and I cooked. We had a good meal and just, family quality time. I was so blessed to have the time with them. And then we had the eclipse. It was a supermoon eclipse. That was really cool. That was really powerful. I'm always in awe of God and His creation of the universe and all the things that sometimes we just take for granted. We just take for granted that the moon just hangs in the sky and the sun just hangs in the sky. And when we're able to witness these type of events, I'm just, I'm always blessed. I'm always ecstatic to be a part of it and to witness it and to share it with my children. Anywho, let's get on with it today. So, my staging, djembe drum, a gift from a friend that traveled to Nigeria. Well, they're actually from Nigeria, and some years back they brought me this djembe back from one of their trips, and I've adored it ever since. I have my Libra candle there for you guys. And what am I burning? I'm burning just regular old ground up cinnamon. I love the smell of it. It's easy to burn, and it's not anything toxic. It's just natural. And then I have a fan. You may not can tell that it's a fan, but it's a hand fan, and I'm not sure of the origin, but it is definitely African print. And if you live in Houston, if you ever visit Houston, there is a super cool bodega off of Alameda called the Reggae Bodega, and they have everything you could want, from incense, oils, shea butter, accessories, clothing, dashikis, t-shirts, shoes. I mean, if it's something that you're looking for and you want to stand out and you need it to be a little different, that's the place to go. Again, it's the Reggae Bodega. They didn't put me up to do the plug. I just like plugging in people and supporting people because, I would like people to support me in my endeavors. And I've been a customer for many, many years. They have great customer service. 2 gentlemen run the shop, and you can't go wrong. If you're looking for herbs, natural teas, oils, I mean, I can go on and on. That's the place to go. So Reggae Bodega on Alameda in Houston, Texas. Woohoo! Okay, on a more serious note, why do I have this set up? I'm honoring my ancestors. I'm honoring specifically my African ancestors today. I know that most of you have already heard about the shooting that happened in Buffalo. And, I thought about long and hard what content I was going to give you guys today. I'm just, and I apologize if, I'm stuttering. I'm finding it difficult to pull my words together because every time we go down this road, it's just so disheartening and so appalling. And 2022 we're living in, and we in America, people of color, regardless if you agree with what I want to say, regardless if you're that person on the other side that agrees with the woes and hardships that people of color have had to experience on American soil, regardless if you agree with it or not. And I don't even think agree is the right word. I should say understand, because there's really not a whole lot to agree with. People of color, we go through it. We go through it here. Now, let me say this. I'm going to talk about a lot, so keep up with me. I know I'm going to kind of jump around, but I'm very sensitive to this specific situation, these mass shootings. I have been ever since we experienced the very first one, which was Columbine. I remember that clearly. It affected me. I had never heard anything to happen like that, and it's been downhill literally ever since. But fast forward to this past weekend in Buffalo. First of all, I want to just recognize the families that are experiencing loss. I would like to send just love and peace and pray for those families and pray for their strength for what they're experiencing. No one should have to transition that way. Those individuals who lost their lives this past weekend, I pray that the ancestors will welcome them with open arms to the other side. We always say, when it's your time, it's your time. There's nothing you can do about it. It will come for us all. But in this manner, it's just it's a hard pill to swallow. So I can't even imagine what they could be going through. So, because this particular shooting, although we've had them before, it was specifically targeted to African Americans, black folk. The shooter, that was his goal. I'm not going to say his name. I don't believe in these people that do this. I just don't believe in, calling out their name and giving them any kind of energy, good, bad, whatever. I just don't call their names out. So the shooter from Buffalo this past weekend, what is it, America? What is, what is it? What's the cure? Is there a cure? Racism has plagued this nation for eons now, and people don't like to talk about it. The root of it, I hear all the time, we should move on from that. But how can we move on from a thing when a thing is still a thing? So, ever since the act of slavery, and then when we look at the Civil War, and then when we look at the civil rights movement, when we look at Jim Crow, it's an ongoing thing in America, and it's in my personal belief that because this heinous ongoing event of slavery took place, and it was, the enslavement of Africans and their descendants, it just, it manifests into different things as time has gone on. No, we're no longer enslaved with chains and shackles, but the spirit is still there. The spirit of enslavement still lingers in the air. No, we don't have our men and women and children too hanging from trees anymore, but the air of that, it's still out there. How do we cure it? I do feel like America is in a type of uprising. I feel like we are witnessing an us against them, and let me be clear, I don't mean us as people of color versus the people who are not of color. I'm speaking of the peacemakers, and we have many peacemakers that come in different shades. We have humans excuse me, we have humans that want to live in a peaceful nation, that come in all shades: Latino, white, Asian, black, Middle Eastern. When you fight for peace and you desire balance, it really doesn't matter what skin color you are. You understand? Now, real briefly, how does this affect people who fall under the Libra zodiac sign? One thing I know about us, and I've mentioned it before, and it's no secret, Libras are people who really thrive for balance in their personal life, their social life, just overall, their careers. This is who we are. And when the balance is interrupted, it bothers us on a massive scale. Many Librans are empaths. Many Librans are light workers. Many of us are mystics. And when we hear of killings, mass shootings, mass murdering, it affects our scales on a very deep level. Am I saying that no one else is affected or we're the only ones that get affected the most? No, I'm not. I want to be clear. What I am expressing is that the balance is off in America. The balance is off. The scale is leaning one way. And And it is up to all of the peace workers, the light workers, the mystics. It's up to just good, honest humans to put their best foot forward and try to turn this thing around. If it can be turned around. And I say if because I don't know. I don't have the answers. And I'm going to tell you something personally. This really bothers me because it's so difficult for me to explain this to my children. What is happening? And, you know, there have been times when I've heard people tell me, you should shield them from it as much as possible. Some things they just shouldn't know about. And my personal opinion, I can't tell anybody else, hey, what works for you works for you. But my personal opinion, this I cannot shield them from. We must discuss it. My boys are boys of color, and one day they're going to be men of color. And I have to tell them about the history so that they will know how to move forward. I have to discuss it. I have to explain slavery in America to them. I have to introduce them to certain literatures so that they can get an understanding what America once was like for their ancestors that paid a devastating price for them to take advantage of the advantages that they have been able to do so thus far. Something as simple as walking through a front door of a business. Something as simple as using any water fountain that you want to drink out of. It's hard for them to imagine these things, but they happen. And it's my responsibility as a parent to give that history to them, to share that history to them. And more so because, again, it's still in the air. You may not be able to see it with your naked eye. You may not agree with anything that I'm saying. In your world, everything might be fine. You might be one of those people where, you live in a bubble and you're just like, hey, everything is fine. Everything's fine in your bubble. But if your bubble is popped, you will realize that everything is not fine, and you will begin to learn that the air of racism in America is still there. Let me tell you something. You ain't got to understand everything about a black person or an Asian, Middle Eastern, Hispanic, Mexican, Latinx. And I use all these names because, this is where we are now. You don't have to understand everything about them. You don't have to understand everything about their culture. But it helps if you try. Let me repeat that. You don't have to understand everything about their culture, but it helps if you try. We fear what we don't know, and it's been in my experience the time that I've been on Earth, and I say that as if I've traveled to any other planet. But in my time of living, it's been my experience that when cultures have an opinion about another culture, and it is a derogatory type of opinion, a negative opinion, it is because they're not in the knowing. Oftentimes it's because they don't have anyone in their immediate circle that they can have certain conversations with, or they may not have ever been to the home of anyone that's black, or anyone that's Asian, or anyone that's Middle Eastern. So where do they get their information from? They get their information from the media. And if you're that person where you strictly base your opinion on what you see on TV, oftentimes that opinion is going to be a certain way to benefit the media and not to benefit you. This is what I'm trying to say. If you've never been to the home of a black person, if you've never had a black friend, and I'm not saying like, the mailman, you see him every day and you consider him your friend, and the mailman happens to be black, or the mail lady, and you're a white person or Hispanic person. Because let me be clear, there's racism within the minorities. There's racism with Hispanic versus black. There's racism with Middle Eastern versus black. There's racism with black versus Asian, Asian versus... There's racism that's running rampant through all of the cultures. But what we see on the media, on TV, we predominantly see this being affected with African Americans. We see it being affected by in the Asian community. So going back to my point, if you consider your friend the person that you just see in passing, this is, that's my friend. The mail lady is my friend. I see her every day. We speak, we're fine. You're not really digging deep. Even your co-workers, you know them on the job. You don't know them after y'all clock out. You really want to get to know a person? Go break bread with them. Invite them to your home. That says a lot. That speaks volume. If you don't want to go to the black person's house, invite them to yours. If you really want to know about any other culture, and again, I'm saying African American, black, because I only speak of what I know. But invite them to your house. Let me tell you something. A few weeks ago, my children and I were invited to a birthday pool party. We were the only black family there. It was a combination of white and Hispanic. We were the only black family there. My son asked me, Mom, were you nervous when we got there and saw that we were the only black people people there, and I told him no. And he asked me, he said, well, why not? And I said, why should you be? Although we were the only African American family at this party, I explained to him, we're all humans first before we see the color. So I told him, I said, I walked in the door and I saw humans. And that's how I try to live my life. And I explained to them, that's how you must try to be. Be aware, be observant. I'm not saying, put the blinders on your eyes. Yes, make a mental note, but keep it pushing. And we had such a great time. All of us, we had so much fun at this party. And we had so much fun to the point where we kept trying to leave, but they would not allow us to leave. And we ended up being the last guest to leave. Invite somebody over to your home. If you're not comfortable with inviting them to your home, that's cool too, because I get it. You don't want everybody in your house. I get that. Invite them to dinner out somewhere. Invite them to lunch out somewhere. If you go to church on Sundays and they go to church on Sundays, why don't y'all go to church together one Sunday? I'm just saying, create an opportunity to get to know somebody that doesn't exactly look like you. And when you do that, you begin to create a level of awareness. You begin to create a level of compassion, a level of sensitivity even. I tell my kids, listen, I know y'all know about racism. I know y'all understand, what happened in the past with white people versus black people and the history that's on this American soil. But I make it clear to them that, even though that happened with white people, you can't hold white people today that you see and that accountable for something way back then. Be aware of it. Do not get me wrong, be aware of it. But you can't look at that white person and just be like, they're a bad person because they're white. Because somebody white is looking at you like that. You're black and you're automatically a bad person. And again, the media plays a big role in what we see and how we feel about different cultures. The media will drive your opinion about another culture. If all you see on TV when you turn on the news is a black man in handcuffs and going to jail, you never see the positive side of the black culture. You never see on a regular, black men and women raising their family in a positive light. Young black men and young black women getting good grades and being entrepreneurs and creating things to make the world better. If you never see that when you turn on TV and see it on a regular, your opinion of the black culture, if that's all you rely on is the news to tell you what it's like, you're going to think of the black culture a particular kind of way. And not just the black culture, any culture. So I encourage you guys, to my Librans who may be struggling right now with what has happened, I encourage you to go out in your community and make a friend. I encourage you to go out in your community and spread the gift of love that's been given to us in our heart. Yes, we know there's a lot of hate that's being passed and spread it around like Miracle Whip. Just lay it on thick. But one thing I do know about being born under the sign of Libra, we are some loving people. And we love in a beautiful way. We do not like to be messed with. We do not like our peace to be disturbed. And if our peace is disturbed, we are going to make a detour because it's vital to our central nervous system to be peaceful. But we are loving people. So, I want to call on all my Libran brothers and sisters out there. If you're listening to this, go into your community and do something kind for someone. Is it going to change the world overnight for what you did? No, but it's a start. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. You can just give someone a compliment. It's free. Spread the goodness that's natural in your heart. That's natural in your Libran genetic DNA makeup. It's there. There's a power that is in us. There's a light that is in us. And I encourage you, I'm begging you, go out and spread some of your light if you have not done it already. If you're not a Libran, everything that I'm mentioning, it's for you too. If you're somebody that's struggling with, learning and understanding other cultures, if you're that person that just don't want to hear nothing about another culture and you're flipping the middle finger, hey, like I tell my children, you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. All I can do is put you on the altar. But if there's something in you that you want to change and you want to be different, or something you heard on this that's making you say, I encourage you to go out in your community, wherever you may be, and get to know somebody that does not look like you or your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your best friend. It doesn't take much, y'all. And when we do more of this, there'll be less of what has happened this past weekend in Buffalo, New York. When we do more of this, it'll be less of that. This has been the Libra Brew. As always, please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe, why don't you? Comment. I'm welcome to constructive criticism. I'm welcome to ideas. I am here for you, and I hope you are here for me as well. I appreciate the time. I love y'all. Until we meet again, you guys stay blessed, stay up, and go out into the community and spread your light. This has been the Libra Brew. Peace.